Hey everyone, it's Jaswell here, and before we start this video, I just want to say a huge thank you for 400 subscribers. It means so much to me that we're growing at such a fast rate, and I can't wait to be able to hit more milestones and celebrate with the community I've built. As you can tell by the title and thumbnail, we will be ranking all of the entries in the Hello Neighbor game series from worst to best. Just make sure to keep in mind that this is all my opinion and that you don't have to agree with anything I say. The whole purpose of this video is just to share how I think about each game individually for anyone who might be interested. With that said and done, let's begin. Starting off the list, in 5th place, we have Hello Engineer. The reason I've put Hello Engineer at the bottom of the rankings is only because we haven't seen much of the game yet. Due to the fact that every single version of Hello Engineer so far has been a closed beta, we can only really judge what Hello Engineer will be like from the trailer. Despite the fact that Hello Engineer is part of the Hello Neighbor series, it doesn't feel like it from the trailer. The graphics of the game are completely different to any version of Hello Neighbor. There seems to be a few things in the game from Hello Neighbor, but from what I saw in the trailer, I'm just left to wonder why this is even a Hello Neighbor game. I think this game would do better just as a standalone game, or at least if they were to add it to the Hello Neighbor series, they could make it resemble a Hello Neighbor game more. I'm also confused on how this is meant to fit into the lore of the game, although this game could be a way of creating more storyline around the rescue squad, as the first two Hello Neighbor games were completely focused on Nikki and the neighbor's family. Overall, I think Hello Engineer has some potential, but there is a lot that needs done before it can be called a Hello Neighbor game. Not to mention the fact that this game isn't exactly an original idea, is it, Tiny Build? Next up on the list, we have Secret Neighbor. Secret Neighbor was announced in 2018, around the same time that Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek was as well. The game appeared as a multiplayer version of Hello Neighbor, which is something that pleased the community a lot. The idea of having 6 kids in a match and one secretly being the neighbour in disguise is something that I've always loved about the game, and the game fitted in perfectly with Hello Neighbor 1. The reason Secret Neighbor has been ranked this low is because despite the game having so much potential, they could have done a better job on it. Secret Neighbor is infamously known by the community as a very buggy game. For over a year there were so many unpatched bugs and exploits, and instead of having balanced classes there were a few overpowered classes and then there was a lot of underpowered ones. The game also had a lot of hacker problems last year, and every time an update released, new hacks were developed that ruins the gameplay experience for a lot of people. The reason I still gave the game 4th place however and not 5th place is because they're slowly managing to make the game better. Tons of bugs and exploits have been patched over time, and they've implemented a bunch of changes to make the classes and gameplay more fair. Secret Neighbor still isn't perfect, but the game is definitely becoming better with every update. The third entry on this list is Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek. Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek pans away from the first game, and this time you are playing as the neighbor's daughter, Maya, who along with the rest of the family goes through a lot of bad things during the game which contributes to the neighbor's insanity. The aim of Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek is quite simple. You have to go around the different maps and different stages to collect toys and put them in the basket to proceed the game. The game has an incredible storyline and adds to the Hello Neighbor lore in the best way possible. Sadly though, what drags this game down to the 3rd spot is the actual gameplay. Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek has pretty boring gameplay. There isn't much going on in the game, and the main antagonist of the game, the neighbor's son Aaron, is not much of a threat, other than when he continuously steals your toys out of the basket until you basically have nothing left. It seems the team spent most of their time on the story of the game and didn't really put much effort into the actual gameplay. And the gameplay is obviously the most important aspect of a video game. However, other than those problems, Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek is still a pretty good game. Second on the list, we have the original Hello Neighbor. In Hello Neighbor, we play as Nikki, who gets suspicious of his neighbour and wants to find out what he's hiding in his basement. This leads Nikki to investigate, only for him to eventually become trapped in the basement himself, which is a pretty traumatizing experience for Nikki. Luckily, he is saved from the basement by the rescue squad, and we witness Nikki as an adult once again investigating the neighbour's house. Except this time, there is much more of a challenge. The game ends with Nikki defeating the final boss of the game, which weirdly enough isn't the neighbour, but we'll be getting to that soon. He then wakes up to discover it was all a dream. Or was it? The things I love about Hello Neighbor are the originality of the game, the overall gameplay, and the lore despite how confusing it can be. The idea of breaking into your neighbour's house trying to unlock his basement is something that a game has not done before. The overall gameplay of Hello Neighbor is amazing in the sense of completing puzzles to unlock different abilities or items that you need to complete the game, and it makes a really fun playthrough for people who like the Hello Neighbor games. Hello Neighbor has interesting lore, and as the game progresses, we see more of the neighbor's backstory and what drove him insane. We see that Nicky isn't the only character in the game who has been through traumatic experiences, and that the neighbor's family broke apart due to a series of events that happened in his life. This leads the neighbor to be haunted by his fear, which takes form as the Thing, who ends up being the final boss of Hello Neighbor. Which, when you think about it, actually makes a lot of sense that the game ends with the protagonist fighting his fear. Problems with Hello Neighbor, however, is that the game can be quite tricky to figure out what you're meant to be doing a lot of the time, and the game's acts don't really work that well together. What I mean is that you have Act 1 and Act 2, which are both way too easy, and I feel like it would be better if they were just combined into one act. Then you have Act 3 and Act Finale, which takes longer to complete and has way more content. However, despite the small problems about the game, Hello Neighbor 1 is still one of the best games in the franchise. And finally, we have our top spot on the list, which goes to Hello Guest and kinda Hello Neighbor 2. The reason I've put these two together for the top spot is because Hello Guest is basically a prototype of Hello Neighbor 2, so they kinda count as the same thing. When we were first introduced to the sequel of Hello Neighbor, the gameplay and the idea of the game were completely different. In the Hello Guest side of the game, which came before the Hello Neighbor 2 part of the game, you play as either Quentin or Beatrix, security guards at the abandoned Golden Apple amusement park in Ravenbrooks, who have to deal with a mysterious figure known as the Guest, who wanders around the abandoned park and tries to sneak up behind the player to catch them. Hello Guest, in my opinion, has the best formula for a Hello Neighbor game. It was the most creative way to introduce another game into the series, and tons of members of the Hello Neighbor community were super excited to see where the game was heading. But then, roughly around the end of July 2020, everything changed. It was at this time that Hello Neighbor 2 was revealed, and it turned out that Hello Guest was a prototype and pre-alpha for the game they had been secretly planning all along. In Hello Neighbor 2, you play as Quentin, who works for the local news and is investigating the neighbour's disappearance. When you visit the neighbour's house, you find the guest has moved in and that the neighbour is nowhere to be seen, and that you have to fend off the guest while also trying to break into the attic to save the neighbour. Hello Neighbor 2 still seems like it could be a really good game, but it is quite a letdown compared to Hello Guest. The way the guest AI works in both Hello Guest and Hello Neighbor 2 are very different. In Hello Guest, the guest would try and sneak up behind the player and then catch them. But in Hello Neighbor 2, the AI is just basically an improved version of the neighbour from Hello Neighbor 1. They also changed the objective of the game to one incredibly similar to the first game. It seems that the developers are using the Hello Neighbor 2 part of the game as a way to show off what Hello Neighbor 1 could have been, as they're working on AI improvements and better game physics. Of course, this is still good, but I think most of us can agree we'd rather see something new than a remake of something old. Luckily though, it seems that Hello Guest has not been scrapped and will still be a part of the full game. Let's hope so at least. What did you think of my rankings, and what are your choices? Feel free to comment down in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to stick around for more of my content. Good day, and goodbye.